Good morning, friends. Welcome to Winchester High Street. Winchester is an extremely old town. Roman, then Saxon, then Norman, and was the capital of England for a very long time. London was at the time seen as rather gauche, but suffice to say, ancient. Behind me here is the Butter Cross. So named, and it's been there for 750 years, because this was a market town and vendors would place their wares all around the edge. It was mostly dairy at the time, cheese and butter. So, the Butter Cross. I am headed eventually to the cathedral. Woke up this morning. I stayed here with my parents last night. My parents are now going up to near Gloucester to see my sister and her family. I am going south with Mark to the base. So I said my goodbyes to my parents. So I'm not going to see them for 11 months. And I've got a couple of hours here before I start south. So that pub behind me, I'm just entering the grounds of Winchester Cathedral right now. The pub behind me there is the William Walker. And its sigil, I just recorded that too, is a deep sea diving helmet. I'll explain that a little later on. The new Land Rover Defender. Ugh, looks like an electric shaver. Anyway. Oh yeah. Rather nice bright day today, actually. It's very cold. I'm considering doing my summer jacket up. It's hovering around freezing. It's a good kind of cold. So, walking really around the outskirts of Winchester Cathedral proper. This is the wall, very large, very serious wall. And the houses and buildings in this area are a happy mix of Georgian all the way back to Tudor and Elizabethan in some cases. So in non-British, that is, kind of 15th, 16th, 17th and 18th centuries. This here is a rather nice terraced block. There we go. But just up the way there, Christ's Hospital. Christ's with an E on the end of Christ even. And that dates to 1607 and is quite a substantial red brick building. I'm headed down towards the college. I'm going to kind of circumnavigate the cathedral and then go into the cathedral itself, which I'm very much looking forward to. Anyway, yes, this, for example, is a Georgian townhouse and is really rather impressive. I don't know how much it costs. It must be an absolute fortune because you've got 3 full floors and what today would be a single garage. That would have been a carriage house. With that door there would be to have like a straw loft to feed the horses and so forth. But I tell you something, that is well over a million. Anyway, so it's pretty fun. End of the street, a really quite large red brick Georgian house next to that. That is the entrance upstairs to St. Swithun's Church, 800 years old. I don't know if that's the rectory, what was the rectory for the priest, but that's the entrance to the village. That is the entrance to the church, this tiny, very old building here. Let me go in. Still has its nativity set up. So I'm alone in St Swithun's church. Tiny little place. This is it. And has been here, and of course repaired and refurbished, but this place is 800 years old and is really quite charming. Like I say, up those stairs and take a left. That's it. This is it. Really quite charming. Anyway, this is so adorable. Look at this, it's a paddle with St Swithun's walk around guide. So the first mention of this church specifically was in 1264. There was an arch here before that was mentioned in the Winchester Domesday Book in 1148. But this church dates to 1264. I mean, it's obviously it's been refurbished many times over that length of time. But yeah, fantastic. So just underneath the King's Gate. And this is Kingsgate Books and Prints, next open next week. And it has a lovely little undercover, of course, little bookshop. Just paperback books, hardback books. Well, take one and leave £1. I'm here for that, it's pretty cool. Anyway, so yes, the Kingsgate there, leading through to Kingsgate Village, used to be a satellite village, if you like. Oh yes, and above the King's Gate, that there is the church. This is the southern gate to Winchester Cathedral, and if you look there, that is the sigil of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. It was rededicated in her name in 1996, when the noble lady herself was only in her mid-60s. Okay. And yeah, old. I don't know if you can hear it, but I think on the top floor there, some music lessons are going on. See that sign there? It says, "This porch is part of a private residence. Please do not sit or picnic here." So that whole thing and that door is someone's house. Amazing. And the sun peeking out from behind the clouds. Awesome.
The worst part is usually fun.
Beautiful late afternoon, bright sun. And because I've travelled on pyramids, on the canals below, every time I went over
See, now you'd think that's with Milan Cathedral in my immediate rear view mirror that I might become jaded at this kind of thing. But it never, ever seems to happen. This is absolutely beautiful. Winchester Cathedral, as it stands now, construction began in 1067, just after the Norman conquest. There had been several churches dating to Roman times on the area. There's the outline of a cross church just outside the boundary. And of course, when William the Conqueror took over the country, and he installed an awful lot of his own guys, including like the bishop and all of that sort of thing. So this place dates to 1067. And as I say, it is nowhere near as big as Milan Cathedral, obviously, but it is still the sixth largest cathedral in Britain and is the longest medieval cathedral in the world. I was just going to shut up for a minute and enjoy this. A rather nice lady just pointed out to me this extremely old pew here has a radiator behind it. So I'm going to sit down for 5 minutes because I am kind of dressed for spring or autumn because I've left all of my winter clothes at home because obviously I'm going to North Africa soon, and so my hands are a little cold. So while I'm enjoying the warmth, as I mentioned, Winchester Cathedral is the longest medieval cathedral in the world. The nave is 170 metres long, which is no small shakes. It's built in the perpendicular Gothic style, so it looks very much like a cross from a bird's eye view. It's not absolutely symmetrical because there are flying buttresses on the southern side and there are none on the north. I'm assuming that's purely because of structural stability. I'll go into the structural integrity of the place a little later on because there's a very interesting story about that. It's really quite lovely. There are military memorials and graves absolutely everywhere because, of course, Hampshire being a rather large and rather affluent county, an awful lot of soldiers and Navy personnel and airmen gave their lives in the Great War and the Second World War from this area. There's that gentleman there, for example, was a colonel of the Hampshire Regiment. He was killed in 1916 at the Somme. Anyway, really rather fun. As a book enthusiast, this tickles me. Just inside the door there, and you're not allowed to film or take photos, so of course I didn't. There are 3 of the 4 volumes of the Winchester Bible. The Winchester Bible is 900 years old and is thankfully inscribed on vellum, which makes the pages remarkably resilient. Last time they were rebound, they scanned them, and they now have these super cool touch screens. And so with a selection of pages, and you can tap, and it'll give you a rundown on the illumination. Fascinating stuff. And obviously for Generation Z who grew up with screens in their hands, it's really quite awesome. Anyway, there's a library upstairs.